It has been a month since we have been live talking about the things that matter. Man, oh man. Oh, good grief. Good grief. Good grief. I hope everybody is in good spirits because this is going to be a heavy stream tonight. I do have a time restriction, but I don't have a time restriction. And we're going to have a subject matter expert. I was trying to get a police officer, but as you know, it's kind of hard to get people to come on camera and speak about stuff, especially if they're not in the media. But today I want to talk about Washington, D.C. Everything that's going on in Washington, D.C., how it's affecting the world, how it's affecting civilians, how it's affecting society, how it's affecting communities, and what we can do about it. So we're going to go through some of these headlines real quick just to give you a brief little, just show you some of the things that's going on and show you. Salute Brian and salute Theo. I'm glad that y'all could make it. We're going to go through these headlines real quick. I had video, but, I didn't have time to put it up here. So let's just go through and see. And these are things that have all happened this year for the most part. So these are in no particular order. For the first time in 2 decades, DC is now at over 250 homicides. Chuck E. Cheese robbed in Tacoma Park. An off-duty DC police officer was arrested late Wednesday night after leading a police chase with Virginia State Police in Alexandria. There is 900 plus carjackings reported in DC in 2023, over double than last year in 2022. College Park, Maryland mayor sentenced to 30 years for 140 counts of kitty dabbling. Disturbing. Mother speaks out after her kid's room was shot up with bullets in DC. That was like 2 days ago. There has been over 450 carjackings and over 7,500 stolen vehicles reported in PG County in 2023 alone. In PG County is Maryland. U.S. Park police officer and suspect, that's kind of blocking, I can't see it. Suspect both shot several times. The suspect is in cardiac arrest. Eagle is attempting to land and fly over the official to a trauma center. Gun recovered at the scene. The DC mayor is in Dubai at a climate control conference to promote tourism amid the spiraling crimes in Washington, D.C. Stop effing around in VA. 3 Maryland natives face 65 charges on Apple Store bus. I'm telling you, I got a lot of them up here, man. Mother turns in 14-year-old son after shooting someone in the Richmond Highway area of Virginia. That was down here. No, that's DMV. Secret Service agents protecting President Joe Biden's granddaughter opening fire after 3 people tried to break into an unarmed Secret Service vehicle in the nation's capital, a law enforcement official told the Associated Press. According to polls on Fox 5, 82% of DC residents want gun offenders to be randomly searched. Shout out to Stop and Frisk. Pregnant woman on cocaine and meth injured after high-speed crash in PG County. 3 others also injured. Free car gone wrong. Shoplifter turned carjacker crashes vehicle at Virginia gas station. And this is the last one I got up here. 13-year-old shot and killed in an attempted carjacking in downtown DC. Homicide labeled as justified. And if y'all remember, I was talking about that one in one of the other videos. I'm looking at some of this. Is what's up, Jeff? Now, I got notes, so this is going to be a conscious stream of conscious flow of thought. Let me see. She'll be in here when she get in here, but we just gonna go from there. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the media and how the media is absolutely controlling the narrative of all of the things that come out. Because we know that most people don't really go beyond the first, sentence or the headline. That's why people want to make these headlines, and basically what you see in the beginning, they want to make that the end all be all, because they know people aren't going to go into the article and read. People are reactionary. People are not going to go beyond anything that has to do with what's actually going on. So they sensationalize the headline. The problem with that is the media is hurting everybody. It's not just one person. It's not just, one group of people. It's not one section of the society. Even though our section of society is getting hit the hardest, everybody's getting hit. We're no longer in a situation where the media is just only attacking one person, only putting one thing out, only in spending all of their time in one section, even though they're spending most of their time over here, especially if you live in the area in the state that I live in Virginia. That's basically all that gets reported all day. Nobody wants to hear about the 14-year-old who invented a piece of equipment that prevents the catalytic converter from being stolen. Nobody wants to hear about your sister being the best volleyball player in the state. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Fio's sister. The people don't look at the news for that. They don't care about any of those things. The media is not just hurting people, they're hurting. And what hurting is they take stories, anything that's going on, they take whatever's happening, and they are just shoving it in everybody's face. So it gets you riled up. It burns you up on the inside. It makes you upset. And that way, when they do that, it pushes you towards whatever direction they want you to go. It's not pushing you towards your own personal critical thinking. It's not pushing you towards doing your own personal research. It's taking your group and it's pushing you into we won't stop and frisk. Where is that one at? The one where they like the gun, they want all the gun crimes. Is this it? This. So if everything you see on the news is somebody getting shot, my residents got shot up, somebody armed carjacking, all of this stuff. And keep in mind that most of the crimes that are going on in DC that are being reported, because sometimes, well, actually a lot of times, crimes are not reported. And they're not reported to the news, and they're not reported in these crime statistic blogs or whatever is going on. A lot of stuff that happens, you will never hear about it. A lot of this stuff, I don't know if any of y'all had heard about any of these things that have been going on in DC, because DC seems to have this crazy reputation for people who don't live around here. It has this reputation of being some place of like prestige, or they ain't really like that, or the place is so prestigious that of course it's got to be, hey Jamie, of course it has to be a situation where they have to be savage, because it's the capital, and if they're going out, they're not going out without a fight. But when we see these kind of things, polling, so Fox 5 polling, Snip just came in. I'm gonna bring you up in a second, Rose. When you see these kind of headlines, 82% of gun residents, 82% of DC residents want gun offenders to be randomly searched. We know that's unlawful. We know that, after you do your time, you should be able to be left alone, but they're not. When the house getting shot up, armed carjacking, teenagers running down on you, all those kind of things, then they go out here and ask people, hey, do you want people to be searched after something happens? Yeah, sure. They're not thinking, because the media has taken and pushed them over into that way. So when we see these things, because I want to get Rose up here, because I actually got a really long list of stuff. I'm going to probably bring her to the top when I talk about society. When we see these kind of things, let me get this off the screen. Oh my goodness, man. I really did not want to go here with all of this stuff, but the media will actually have you hating yourself, and not just hating yourself. You'll end up hating people and hating just without doing your research and people like to do your research and put all of that out there. These people don't know how to do an effective Google search with the keys on their keyboard, so they can't be listened to about anything research based. But these media pages, these blog pages, these music blogs, all of these people who specialize in news and they're not doing their due diligence, they'll put these things out there and it'll really have you out here saying, man, fuck black people. It'll really have you out here saying, fuck all white people, fuck all the Mexicans, fuck all the, put a group and put a race there. Like I said, it's not just one person. It happens in every segment and every sector of every group because it is a part of the herding process. So you think like, okay, all these gun deaths, all this gun violence, all of this gun crime, anybody who ever got convicted of something should be searched. But that one is unconstitutional, but that didn't stop them up there in New York when stop and frisk was going on. That's the purpose of this. You do not allow the media to get into your mind because they want all of us at that point where we don't care. They want all of us at that point where we're desensitized. They want all of us at that point where you're not dealing with things in your regular life, because we know that society as a whole has its own issues, but you're not dealing with things in the manner of my everyday life. I'm taking it case by case. I'm taking it point by point. I'm dealing with my environment, however it is, wherever I'm at. They'll have you generalizing. And when you start moving into the lane of generalizations, that puts you, it starts pushing you towards objectification and dehumanizing people in that way. And once you get into objectification and dehumanizing and all of those words that surround that, then you get to where you're okay with people being murdered. You're okay with unlawful murder and killings and all of that. You're okay with a police officer shooting a 12-year-old in the park playing with a toy gun, allegedly. Nobody ever showed the gun on that, but we don't have to talk about that today. You start being okay with anything that happens that gives you that quick hit of justice and gives you that quick hit of finally somebody actually did something about it, even if it makes no fucking sense, even if it's so thrown off and pushed into something else, even if it is, hey, violate their rights because we're tired. Them people didn't do nothing to you, don't know nothing about you. It could have been an honest mistake. But you'll get to the media will push you to, hey, I'm okay with anybody doing anything they want because we're tired of sitting around and not getting justice. So I'm moving into society and communities, and I'm gonna bring Rose up because I had this at the end, but I want us to get into this now because everything else is going to coincide with what I have to say about this. So this is Snipping Thorns. Okay. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to bring Rose up here because over here, Rose, and welcome to the stream. Everybody here is respectful and we listen and we want to talk to people who come from different places, have different perspectives, different subject, matters and those type of things. Over here, most of us, we do not support most of these social justice things that we see in the media because we're from the era, we're young enough, we're from the era where we have basically been left, all of us have been left out to dry by all social issues and anything that's really ever happened out here that had to do with the media and these movements, our communities, and this is every community, has been betrayed by the people who came before us, because why are we still dealing with these things? Why are we still having these issues? So most of us, and that's all of us under I would put under 40, but really it's probably 35 and below. We don't care about.
Though I would say above.
Oh, you're going out. You froze up.
And
say that again. Jesus Christ, man.
I think that under 40, because my dad, he's older, he's 70, and he was betrayed by the system too. So I don't think that it's just in the more recent generations. I think that it's everybody under the sun. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to make that point really quick.
I'm talking about us over here, not what's going on outside of the bubble. Us and on this particular platform, not like looking into the world. I'm talking about the people that are over here and they support it. We're not with most of all this stuff that's out here. And in name only, yes, but going out and doing all of this, no, because we have been betrayed. So the question that I wanted to put on the table, because I know that, you speak so elegantly and you know more about the inner workings of these movements and these things than a lot of other people would. We do not feel like defund the police was beneficial. And I'm going to tell you why. We don't feel like it was beneficial just on the most simple level of these are regular people. Most of them are regular people who have regular jobs, who are just trying to take care of their family. They are complicit in the incubation of having their bad apples, or whatever a person would call them, right? Mm-hmm. They protect their people. They protect whatever. They are home team all the way. And even though we know that, we still are not like, we think that that's not a good idea, just because of there are people who would actually need them. Now we over here, most of us over here are probably not, that's not going to be our first thing to do, is try to call the cops or for anything really. But we understand that, these are our family members, these are our neighbors, these are our friends, and there are people who actually would need police officers to help them. I remember like a month ago, I was on my way home. It was like 3 a.m. or something, and somebody got into a car accident, and they were like, I think they were disoriented because they were like walking in the middle of the highway. So I was on the opposite side. So all I did was I called 911. I said, hey, this person in a car accident, they look disoriented walking around. Can you please send them some help? Because I didn't know I couldn't turn around because there was nowhere for me to turn back or back up because it's the interstate, but I didn't know what to do. And that is the stance that we take with the whole, don't take money away from people, but we do understand that your group is harboring these terrorism cells that inflict these issues on the communities, so that causes people to go out. And I mean, you can't just do what you want to and expect people not to come out against you. It don't matter what institution you're a part of. So I wanted to get you up here so you can explain why it didn't. I don't think it worked. It don't look like it's working to me, but I'm not a person that's going to be like calling the cops. I had a situation, a self-defense situation recently at my girlfriend's house. Somebody walked into her house. She called the police. She wasn't there, thank God. But she called the police and told them to meet me there. I went down there. The police never came, but I went with a rifle. And the police literally never showed up. And I had to confront somebody who was in my girlfriend's house. And I had to handle it myself. And everybody's not me, but they probably wouldn't have done what I was willing to do.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
the police, they never showed up, and after the fact, nothing came of it. Everything on the other end all came down to a crashing in for them. But with me, nothing happened because I know the law where I am. I've had a past with the law, but I knew what I was doing. I knew the law was where I was at. I was not unlawful in any way. We've had one situation before where somebody put hot glue in her key and tried to break in, but I was there. And my girlfriend, is not the person that is going to pick up a gun and do anything unless she had to. But she doesn't, that's not her. Me, I'm not calling the cops. I don't have time for that. I have to respond now because I can't let you violate my life, the life of my loved ones, hurt random people when I'm out. That's really the only reason I carry in public, is because if I'm somewhere because of the news, and I'm a victim of looking at the news too. I don't really want to say victim, but I am a person who I am affected by the media as well. So when I cut it on and I see grocery stores shot up, oh, I'm not going to the grocery store without a gun. I'm not going anywhere without pepper spray or something. You never know. And plus, I live in a place where it's a bunch of wild animals. So I don't condone any police violence or state-sanctioned violence, but I understand why people would. I know why people would say defund the police. I know why people would be against anything that had to do with the cops. But at the same time, there's people like my girlfriend that are like, she's going to call the police if something's wrong, if something that she can handle. But I mean, in my household, she called me first,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then she called the cops, because it's like, okay, I can meet them over there because there was a firearm in the house. That's all I cared about. Just in case this person who walked in there unauthorized took a gun out, that will fall back on me because it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna shut up because I want you to explain to us. I think it didn't work. Is this working?
Mm-mm. No,
And
that's not working.
why did defund the police not work? Aside from the surface level things, the most simple way that I put it, what are we missing? What happened?
Is because
You're breaking up real bad. We can't hear you. Is it breaking up, y'all? Because I can't hear. It's breaking up real bad.
Can you hear me now, or should I just talk a little bit
Yes.
slower? Because I talk too fast sometimes. That might be the issue. I can talk a little bit slower.
Okay, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I'll just talk a little bit slower. So the reason why I think it didn't work is because of how our system is set up. If you get rid of one part of the system, that doesn't change any other part of the system just because you took this one thing away. So if you took away the police, defunded the police, what's the other option for safety? In the past, before we had the police, before we had the cops and everything, we had community, we had neighborhood communities that we
Your phone went out again. I don't know if it's the Wi-Fi or what's happening.
Oh, okay. Actually, I'm on my laptop right now, but let me try getting on my phone. That might be a little bit
It
easier.
works on the phone too. The phone is probably better.
Okay. Yeah, let me
Okay,
hop
well,
off.
while she's doing that, I'm gonna tell y'all what happened with society in the community in relation to what we're talking about. So if you're a part of a social group, whether your social group is Black Lives Matter, Antifa, I don't know if I would include the ADL, but the ADL, if you was a Proud Boy or whatever. So it's like people start looking at you if you support one of these things, and they'll say, you're Black Lives Matter, you're XYZ. You don't agree with random people being murdered by the police, you're Antifa. You wave your American flag and you drink Bud Light and you hate XYZ, you're a Proud Boy. So everybody's being pushed into all of these different categories, and it forces you. And shout out to Zay, man. I didn't get to see that when you had came in, but they start pushing us into these categories just based on what they see. As far as I look at you, you look like something that I've identified that I don't like. I hate you. Instead of being able to talk to people and see what's going on, because everybody cannot be reasoned with, everybody cannot be talked to, and we will be talking about what we're going to be able to do about this situation, because DC is just the hotbed right now. Your city can turn into DC any day of the week. There's more than one DC around the country. Most major cities are like DC. DC is just the closest thing to me. I don't even want to, drive through DC. I go around. I do not mind taking the loop around because I don't want to be bothered with that nonsense. But because of these groups who get out here and do these type of things, and it might be fraud, it might be, we all know what's happening. So we see these things and we let the media take control over what us on the ground, how we see ourselves, how what gets put out into the world. Oh, this is just a result of this person's just trying to make it. This person's just trying to build their career. This is the only thing that worked for them. We got to let it slide. But guess what? You let everybody slide. Now this shit done turned into just full-blown recess. Shout out to Sam. We've let this whole thing turn into a free-for-all just because we decided that we did not want to take control over the media first. Like Rose was just saying, where we had community at first, there's no more community. The community does not exist anymore. We can sit up here and we can play. We can talk to ourselves all we want to talk to ourselves and tell ourselves that everything is okay and it's all good. No, it's not. Where you live at might be cool, but you're not going to be incubated where you live for the rest of your life. You're going to want to go places. You're going to want to do things. Imagine you wanting to, if you live around here, because there's a lot of people over here who live around here, you want to go places and you want to do things. You can't even go to DC for the weekend or go run in and get your coat out the house without the fear of a child, because the teenagers are doing these things. Most of the people who are committing these crimes in DC, according to what they tell us, because we know all things don't get reported, most of these people are between the ages of like 12 to like 19 or 20 years old. It's mostly kids. So what the media has conditioned us to do is this is all we're seeing. This is the only news we're hearing. People don't bother to talk to people anymore. So society is just in the house as a thing of the pandemic, even though people were becoming less social before that. These people have destroyed our community via disrupting our communication, because that's the most important part of anything, is how we communicate and how we communicate with each other. You go outside and now you see a child, and before we would treat children like, oh, it's mischief. Oh, it's, a kid being a kid, being stupid, not knowing nothing. You let a 6-year-old put their mama's shoes on and call themselves a dinosaur. We used to laugh at that. Now people take that to heart, like, oh, that's a real thing. Now you have to worry about, do I have to shoot a child in the head because I don't want to get carjacked? I didn't go to work all week to be robbed. I don't care because this is all that I'm seeing. And Rose, I'm just saying that community doesn't exist anymore. But go ahead. Yeah, it looks way, way better now. So you can take it from the top.
Okay, no, I was enjoying what you were saying. That was cute. The kid being a dinosaur in his mom's shoes. I did that though. That's relatable. But so that's something that I was thinking about when you made that Instagram post, is that our original police were our neighbors. Our original police were our family members and our friends that lived close by us. We would all take care of the kids together. We would all take care of what was going on. If a stranger came in, then everybody would know who that stranger was. Whereas nowadays, a lot of us live in places where we don't know our neighbors. So we don't really have a sense of community that keeps us safe in that way. Like, the thing is, people talk about safety in the sense of like guns, or in the sense of like walls or like gates and fences and stuff like that. But in my personal experience, the thing that has kept people the safest in my life, in my opinion, has been community, has been who's looking out for you, who can help you, who has a good relationship with you. And that's the ultimate sense of safety. So that's the biggest reason why I think that the defund the police movement flopped, is because we don't have a sense of community like you were talking about. So I don't think that we're going to like be able to defund the police and have a sense of safety, because we haven't created a sense of safety for ourselves. We haven't created these communities for ourselves. We don't have that anymore. Another reason why I think it didn't work is because of the lack of training that the police don't have, especially, like you said, when it comes to mental health, or when it comes to dealing with people they're not used to. And back in the day, the police officers knew the community. They knew their neighbors. They knew the people that were in that neighborhood. So they could be like, oh, okay, like Mrs. Jenkins over here is having a good day. Awesome. Oh no, Mr. Thompson, he might not be having a good day, or he's worried about something. They actually knew what was going on in the communities. So if something looked weird, they knew that it looked weird because they could see it from the neighborhood's perspective. Whereas nowadays, the police don't know the neighborhoods. They go into neighborhoods they're not familiar with. And that's why you see people getting shot in neighborhoods, because the police get scared because they don't know the language of that neighborhood, or they don't know like how to interact in a neighborhood like that. That's another reason. But going back to the training, I think is a very, very big part of it, because if you defund the police, then it's not going to make them act better. You know what I mean? And it's not going to make anybody act better by just taking money away from that establishment. The police have been needing reform since day one, because I looked through the mental health training, the mental illness training that police have to go through, and it sucks. It's not informed, it's not well thought out at all. I pulled it up here on my laptop. And basically, police are trained to have 3 responses to mentally ill people, or to people causing disturbances. You have 3 choices: transport that person to a mental hospital, arrest that person, or resolve the matter informally. Now, by when they say resolve the matter informally, that means conflict resolution skills. That means talking to the person or de-escalating the situation in an intelligent manner. However, that's the training they don't get. They get the training on how to arrest a person. They get the training on how to transport a person to a mental hospital. They get the training to shoot a gun and to use a taser, but they don't get conflict resolution skills, which is a uniquely American thing in like developed countries, if I'm being honest, because half of my family lives in Europe, and everybody over there, the police don't have guns in Holland and in France. And they learn conflict resolution skills. They learn conflict de-escalation skills. So there's actually a couple of videos you can look up online of Dutch and French police officers de-escalating situations by talking and using like hand to hand, or like physically restraining somebody without the use of a taser or a gun. Police are trained to do that in Holland and in France, but not in America. So I think that's a big reason why defund the police didn't work, because we don't have well-trained cops like that.
Okay, so I want to say this. I agree with you. Now, I have my own personal belief about the police. And one reason I believe that defund the police did not work is because the police are not there to do anything but control the population. I don't believe that rogue police officers can be reformed. There is no, you cannot reform, evil cannot be reformed to me. I don't think anybody would agree that evil, just pure evil, can be reformed. Not saying everyone's evil, but some people, some of these people make deliberate decisions to be terrorists. That cannot, I don't think anything can be done from that besides if you commit an act of terrorism, i.e., if somebody's clearly having a mental illness, because a lot of those people who have those mental health breakdowns and things, their families don't know how to deal with them because we're at work all day. We stressed out about the job. We're stressed out about our economic situation. We're chasing something. Something is already happening. I like to say it like this. You have a checklist of things that you have to check off for yourself every day before you can even get to the point of doing something for somebody else. So by the time, okay, my checklist is not checked off, but somebody over here is having a crisis, whether I know them, it's happening in my house, or it's happening to me. Evil people don't care about being trained to help. I don't think they're there to help. I think that they're there to control anyone who gets out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for the most part, because most of the police encounters that I have ever had, I've had a few, most of them were decent. Like, it wasn't anything that, it wasn't like I was not afraid. I wasn't slammed into the car. Nobody tried to kill me. And a lot of times, you know, you just kind of, I have a philosophy, just give me my stuff and I'm going to go. I do not talk to the police. We have no reason to speak. Like, if it's something that's like, oh, you're getting a speeding ticket. Cool. Like, I will take my ticket and we will handle it another time. I tell everybody over here, if you're having a police encounter, shut your mouth. You don't have nothing to say to no cop. Take your ticket and fight it on the back end. Take whatever, get arrested, fight it on the back end. Now, that works if you're dealing with somebody who cares and somebody who wants to actually go into the community and talk to people, go into the community to see what's going on. Showing your face makes a world of a difference. When it's like, oh, I know that officer whatever is going to ride through this neighborhood every day at the same time. He's going to, or every other day, whatever day schedule is, you're going to be dispatched to ride through. That officer sitting over there, we know that that officer, he's catching everybody that's speeding. It don't matter what's going on. He's only looking for speeding. He goes over there or she goes over there and we called for help and they were nice, or they helped my grandma, they're playing with kids, you know, all the PR that they give these people, but I ain't talking about them. Those are regular people who have their own family and their own life. What is there anything that can be done aside from expulsion and never being able to go and work anywhere else or do anything else that involves public service for people who I don't care about de-escalating? I don't care about mental health crisis. I'm not taking, they're not even taking the resources when they are getting these funds and saying, we're going to hire something, do something simple, like I'm going to hire social workers and turn them into cops. That would be, to me, this is just going off of my everyday dealings in the public. I'm going to send a XYZ number of police officers out to school, because you got to have a degree and a license to be a social worker. After you go through that, you're going to go through police training. That makes a world of a difference with the type of person you're dealing with. Some people just care automatically. Most people, this is my job. So, but then you take the money away because these small group of people are doing this instead of that small group, because it's their fault. It's your fault for not speaking up. When you have people who are giving you the bad PR, if you don't come out and say, hey, this is not what we want. Like over here, if it's a certain type of artist that is coming out, not people making choices, but if you're coming out doing damage, we're on top of it. You let 6-year-olds rap about sex, we're on top of you. And we're going to stay on top of you because we do not condone it. That's the bare minimum. But what do you do when the system says, I don't care about you. In the relation to Washington, D.C., people would think that Washington, D.C. is this place where, oh, they're doing okay. It's fine. The White House and the Capitol building and the monuments and whatever, the American flag and the eagle and all that cute stuff. But Washington, D.C. is divided and it's severely segregated. And I think the only place that's probably more segregated is Chicago. Like segregated, i.e., the public officials and anybody's got to do with the president is on this side and the government, and then there's everybody else over here. Those people are struggling. Those people, there's like down the street from Pennsylvania Avenue, you can walk to this, a tent city. It's Skid Row all over the place, right down the street. And whenever something's happening, like some big event, like Veterans Day or something, they'll take those people, scoop them up, push them over somewhere else, and get them so it's not an eyesore for people.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do if the system is not what do we do, but like what is happening that we give you money, so you're getting more funding, because nobody's been defunded, by the way. People have just got tired. Some places have, like on the coast where you live at, they're definitely defunding the police over there. Over here, they're getting more money, but the money's going to military equipment. The money, like, why do you need a tank? Maybe in DC you need a tank, but like, why would you need a tank in Farmville or something like that? Why does a police officer need a regular cop, not SWAT or state or whatever? But
they really
good, because there'll be a lot going on. I live in the capital, so it's a lot going on around here. But like, why would an everyday person who you get dispatched to a little league game, you're barely writing tickets, you're just sitting to make sure nobody crashes? That's what most of these people do. Most of these people are not detectives and anything higher than that. You're writing tickets. Like, you're not doing anything that would, because a lot of stuff is not happening. It's just sensationalized for what we see. Why are they not taking their money and doing something as simple as, this is the percentage of people that we're going to put on the force that actually know how to de-escalate? So if they call on the phone, you need to ask, what is happening? Because when I called the police, I've never called the police a day in my life until I saw that car accident. And I didn't know that when you call the cops, you got to give them your name and your phone number. Well, you call 911, and the 911 operator dispatches it to an officer, and the officer calls you, and they ask you questions about, are you there? What did you see? Just trying to figure out what happened on the scene based on what they were told. I didn't know any of that happened. So if, somebody's calling, I know people are irate or whatever, but why can't we just have, if people claim there's a good cop, because you can't be good if you let bad go on and you don't at least do the cheapest thing, which is opening your mouth.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of things you just touched on. There's a lot there. I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but I guess
I want you to just, whatever you want to say. It's
free ball. So when you were talking about calling 911, that's what I want to start with, because I feel like everything else can branch out from there. I remember the first time I called 911 was because I saw somebody drowning in the ocean. And so I called 911 because it was like 2:00 in the morning or something. No, it was like 10 p.m. at night, I want to say. And I called 911 because somebody was drowning. Well, actually, it was a group of friends that didn't know how to swim. Or they knew how to swim, but they were tourists, and they didn't know how to swim in the strong current in the water. Because if you guys live in California or like live close to the water, then you know that the tides get stronger at certain times of year. And they were clearly tourists because they didn't know about how the tides worked in the neighborhood, in that area. So what happened was they were getting swept out to sea, and I told them what to do. I told them how to hold their bodies to make sure they could get to shore. Because I've been in that situation, it's scary, but if you hold your body a certain way, you can get to shore. They weren't listening to me. They were flailing and doing all this other thing, all these other things. So I called 911 and I talked to the dispatcher, but they took so long trying to get through all of the information that by the time anybody showed up, I already had guided the people to get to shore. Like I went out there and like I guided them how to get to shore. So they figured it out and they were fine. But then the cops and the ambulance people, the medics, they were all pissed because it took so long to get there and they wasted all this gas to get there. And then they told the people, the group of friends, that it was illegal to call 911 when it's not an emergency. And they gave them a lot of shit for it. And they were like, well, you're not actually dead, so you shouldn't have called 911. And they were pissed. So that's one thing. So going on from that, I don't think that our country prioritizes the well-being of its citizens. It never really has. And to start at the very beginning, I want to bring up just like a point that I read about in this book, where this woman was talking about individuality and how powerful individuality is. In the book, the author, Clarissa Pinkola Estes, she said that in a culture that values individuality and liberty and being free, in this kind of society, you would never have a slave class. You would never have a class where people are stacked like that. There might be a hierarchy, there might be a king, and then like whatever below that, but there wouldn't really be a slave class. And that's because if you want to acknowledge how individuality works, you have to acknowledge everybody's needs. And if you're living in a society that has a slave class, you're not acknowledging individuality. You're not acknowledging everybody's needs.
Not to cut you off or make you lose the train of thought, Brian Tisdale asked, what's the name of the book again?
It's called Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I can put it in the chat real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's technically a spiritual book. It's very empowering, and it talks about different cultures, ideas of empowering women, like their different rituals or their different rites of passage that they have for women in their cultures. Women who run with the wolves. But she touches on a lot of different topics in that book, and I think everybody should read it. Let me know if that went through. I hope that went through in the chat.
It went through private, but I can it's fine. I got it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I haven't used this platform before. But going on from that, we are a society that is full of hypocrites. So thank you. So since we have this idea that we value individuality, but we actually don't, it creates this like falseness in our culture. It creates this idea that we value individuality, but we really don't. So I think that's really important to keep in mind when it comes to talking about the police, because with the history of the police, I'm sure most people in this live know that the first cops were slave patrollers. So I think that that's established into the roots of our country. And another part that I really wanted to bring up based on that point is that I was looking into this yesterday, and I found this list on a website that listed out the traits of white supremacy. Because I'm talking about cops, then I feel like I need to talk about the traits of white supremacy in America, because the two are so interlinked, I feel like. So one of the main traits of white supremacy, the characteristics of upholding white supremacy, one of the main traits is to not talk openly in arguments, to not argue openly, to be passive aggressive. That's a core trait of white supremacy, which is why you won't see much change and much outspoken revolution until it's too late, almost, which is why you won't see these like outright disagreements as much. You'll see these passive aggressive disagreements instead of outright disagreements. That's an inherent trait in white supremacy, and therefore is an inherent trait in American culture. So that's another reason why I think that the cops aren't going to be fired for doing anything wrong. Also, a couple years ago, I kept hearing about good cops being fired for doing the right thing. I kept hearing about good cops being fired for either not shooting and de-escalating the situation without using gun violence. And the cops would get fired for that, or they would get fired for being outspoken about bad cops. So I think that's another big point there. When it comes, like when I was talking about earlier, how you brought up so many points that could go so deeply into the roots of our culture, I'm mainly talking about how our society is so incredibly entrenched in grossness, for lack of a better word, that we really do need an entire restructuring of our systems, not just one part of the system, which is why I said earlier, I don't think that getting rid of the police is going to fix everything. I think that it really comes down to fixing the entire system and fixing how we think and fixing how we talk to each other. Conflict resolution, in my opinion, should be taught in schools. Everybody should learn how to de-escalate conflict without resorting to violence. Sometimes I do think that violence is necessary because, like,
there you go. There you go. We'll talk about that. But
yeah.
I'll save it and let you speak. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in my personal life, I have two really, really close friends that I've known for a very, very long time. One since I was born, and the other one pretty close. Like, we've been friends for a very long time. It's my two best friends. And I've hit one of them in the face twice because we had like major like headbutting like issues, you know, and we couldn't resolve them until I hit him in the face. So I hit him in the face and we were cool. But I think that there's like this idea that like peace and love and like violence won't solve anything, or violence doesn't solve anything. And I don't think that's true, because sometimes I do think you have to get it out physically because that energy stays in your body. And I think that it's very respectful in a way to be willing to fight somebody if like you have a disagreement with them. And you're seeing your friend disagree with you, and you're like, oh, wait, like you need to take this out. Like you're holding this in and you take this out. And I'm okay with somebody hitting me in the face if they have a disagreement with me, but only if we're friends. If you're a stranger, if I don't know you that well, I'm going to take offense to you hitting me. I'm going to I'm going to be mad at that. But if you're my friend, I do think that sometimes hitting each other is like what has to happen, as long as it's consensual. You know what I mean? As long as it's not like a crazy amount of violence. It's just like one hit. Okay, we're cool now. That's how I was anyway.
Let me address some of this
There's
nonsense.
a lot going on with that. Yeah.
So I ain't never seen some of these names in this live. So let me let y'all know something. If you're gonna say anything, you need to call in and say it. You don't get to hide behind the chat. You don't get to all these crazy questions and things. Call in and say what you gotta say. We don't do that. We're not gonna have bots coming in here and trying to stir things up. This is not a rap blog or none of that other non-stuff, that stuff that people play into. This what is this, C3B? What is this? They were policing all ancient cultures. How you figure it started with American slavery? We're talking about the United States of America, sir. The police were the slave patrol before. That's how it started. We don't have to talk to people like they're stupid. Y'all are not stupid out there. We don't have to speak to you like we're talking to a 5-year-old. If you come over here, you are expected to be at that level to keep up. I'm not coming down there to communicate with you. You're coming up here to communicate with me. and you will communicate at this level, or just sit and watch. I don't have to call you names or, oh, you stupid and fuck you. I'm not doing that. Rewind so maybe you can get the context, or pick your cell phone up and Google it. This isn't, nobody's asking nobody to do alchemy or nothing. Call in, just call in. I'm telling you, when you have a question, you call and you ask the question. All cultures have police. Well, you call and you explain to us how all cultures had slave patrol.
There's different types of police, though. I think that the point that we're misunderstanding about right now, what's your name? CB3. The point that I'm trying to get at is how the police started in different cultures. So there are different roots to it, basically, is what I'm saying. So to give it like a very easy to understand example, how you grow up very much influences the person you become later on in life, right? What you're taught as a kid, like, all these kinds of things, that influences how you that influences who you turn into as a person later down the road. The same goes with police. How the police of every civilization start depends on why that police started and the cultural reasons behind that police forming. So, for example, if you want to talk about police in different cultures, let's talk about Viking cultures. Viking cultures had police, but their police were technically warriors. Most police in ancient cultures that you're talking about, I'm pretty sure, they were also seen as warriors. Our police, they're not warriors. There's this mistake that Nayim was talking about where they think they're in the military when they're really not. But police were supposed to be for solving domestic disputes, not for fighting outside invaders. You know what I mean? So there's a difference between settling a domestic dispute versus warding off enemies that are trying to attack you from another country or another nation. I think that it's really important to make that distinguishment, because from what you're saying, you're almost implying that all police around the world are the same. And if you talk about ancient civilizations, all of their police were warriors to defend against outside nations. So I think that you need to keep that in mind.
Well, thank you for explaining, because I never would have gave that. I would never gave none of that. Bottom line, everybody know, if you got something to say, you need to call in. We don't do the chat. It's not, the chat is so we can put things on the screen and people can talk amongst themselves. But if you are critical of what's being said, or you got a question, you call in. Point blank period. So I want to move into, because I don't want to, stay too long. We've almost been here for an hour. I want to move into what we can do. And thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. You know how hard it is to get people to that's what I'm saying, Zay. These is regular people in our lives and our families that I'm going to say this. First, thank you, Rose, for coming. I greatly appreciate you. I just love the way you speak and how you're able to come and you're not afraid to speak, because it's hard to get people to come and actually talk when they know what they're talking about. But like Zay is talking about, they still regular people, the things that we're fighting as non-police officers, the police officers are fighting rogue police officers too, but they're being overpowered because the rogue police officers, the media has their back, the institution has their back, everybody has their back. And if you decide you want to do the right thing, you get punished for it. But that's just not in their culture. It's in all cultures. If you want to, in rap culture, if you want to make positive music, they'll call you good rapping ass and all of this other, cut that shit off. Nobody want to hear that, church girl. They'll call you those kind of names. If you decide that you don't want to do drugs, oh, you sober, you lame, you this, you that. Everybody, we've been pushed into this thing where the bad things are not being celebrated. I mean, the bad things are being celebrated. The good things will get you punished if you decide you want to go against them. So what I'm moving into now is what we can do. The first thing I have on my list is we don't personalize the things that we see in the news, because I do not believe in the news. There's not one part of me that believes the news. I do not believe mainstream media because I know propaganda and I know how it is used to twist and turn and hurt people and herd people into whatever direction they want to be. So when we see these things, we can discuss them, we can talk about them, but we need to keep in mind what's actually going on. Because if they're like, oh, it's raining purple syrup, there are people who would just believe that and take their word for it, because why would the TV lie? Why would Fox News lie to me? Why would CNN lie to me? What does President Biden get out of lying to me? Every fucking thing, y'all. So we don't internalize and personalize these things, because when you do that, it'll have you looking in the mirror and hating yourself. It'll have you hating people you don't know. It'll have you angry. You, like you said, we hold these things and these energies in us when we should be talking about these things and discussing these things, because maybe there are people who do not understand. Maybe there are people who need somebody to just give them that push so they know that, hey, it's okay to speak about these things. It's okay to come out here and talk about these things. We don't have to just sit back and be like, oh man, something crazy happened and I can't do nothing. That's not true. That's what they want us to believe. They want us to believe that if you don't say anything and you don't challenge and you go along and get along and you're a good old boy and all of these things, that you will be rewarded. The only thing that being good has ever rewarded a person with, as far as being in the establishment, is you get more work and you get more put on you and it's more pressure, and good and evil cannot exist at the same time with each other. You don't mix good and evil and somehow it comes out great. It turns into shit all around. The second thing I have is we have to control what we can control, y'all. No, you cannot control anybody going out here and doing anything, but you can control yourself and you can control your narrative and what you believe and what you know. Y'all know we're really big on reading and we're really big on books. That's why Brian wanted to know about the book, because we're always referencing the literature that we read. And we don't just read and we don't just get into the things that we like. We will listen to anyone. We will learn from anyone, our enemies included. We can control what we take in and we can control what we do. So if you see something and you know that it's not right, you can open your mouth and you can say something. You can go further than that and you can do something about it. It's okay to do that. But that's just a part of controlling yourself. You control yourself first and the environment acquiesces to you. When you relinquish your power to these entities and you relinquish your power to these other people, you're giving your control away. You're saying that I will do what you want me to do. I will say what you want me to say. We can't put ourselves in these situations where other people are controlling our narrative. And because when they control our narratives, like I always say, I've said this every live stream, I believe, or damn near every live stream, Adolf Hitler said, whoever controls the images is controlling their mind. You can control the narrative. You can control what they think. So if they told you as a Black person that you being fed up with white supremacy, that makes you a terrorist, you know what you say? You say, so the fuck what? If they told you as a white person you should hate yourself and all white people with bold cuts and school shooters or whatever, you tell them, so the fuck what? Especially if you know that like that don't have nothing to do with you. But it can't be, so you can't be ingesting other people's bullshit and opinions to the point where you actually start to believe the bullshit that people tell you, especially when you know it's not true for what you're seeing. You know, the mayor don't give no fuck. What that thing at? Let me find it. That the mayor is in Dubai trying to goddamn, here it go. The mayor is in fucking Dubai trying to get people to come to DC so a fucking teenager can steal their car. Who the fuck wants to go to DC? Like nobody wants, no. Like no.
Funny. Okay.
Like no, but seriously, the media is the mayor has shit that she can fix, because that's the job of the mayor. She's over the cops. When you get hired as a police officer and sworn in and shit, the mayor does all of that. The mayor is in charge of what's happening where she's at, and she's overseas trying to get people to come get their fucking rented airport Kia put on blocks because the Kia boys is going to come and take it. No, it's okay to be against her. It's okay to be against the things that are wrong. And because we didn't all, the people that are not afraid of being hated, the people who are not afraid of people disagreeing, the people who don't mind talking to Donald Trump and talking to Biden, but understanding that they are not our friends and they don't want anything to do with us, and all they want to do is kill us, to my personal belief. They're on the same side. You've never seen a bird fly with one wing. So we know that these people do not care about us. So it is up to us who control the narrative. It's up to us to take control, because we didn't stand together as the strong people and say, hey, this is not it. We're not allowing it. You will not prosper if you do this. This is why we're in the situation we're in with this DC shit. Everywhere is turning into this. This is just popular because this is where I'm at. Everybody that lives anywhere has a Washington, D.C. somewhere in proximity to them. And because people offshore, offshore, I guess I can say offshore. They offshore their security, you offshore your safety, you offshore your education, you offshore anything that has to do with yourself. These people were able to come in and just take control over everything. So they're going to tell you, hate yourself, believe in Big Brother. Everything is going to be cool. Now you don't have no control over the situation, and everybody can run wild and do everything because we decided that we didn't want to do what we were supposed to do. Meaning we fix ourselves first, then we start working on everything else. You check your list off, then you start working on other things. Because if you're together, you're not waking up wondering like, am I going to lose my job today? Being 5 minutes late is not going to completely ruin your financial situation or something like that. You're not struggling to do this. You're not struggling to do that. You are of sound mind and you get the help. But that's of the live stream for tomorrow night. I'll get into that tomorrow. But like, nobody cares about us, y'all. I don't know if people do not understand this concept that you are your own first responder. Though the people that are in charge now, we are not in a situation. I mean, I was never born into everything. My whole life has been chaos, from the DC sniper to all this other Columbine, just all these crazy things. We have enough examples and enough proof to know that there are no saviors and there are nobody out here in the system of evil is coming to help. Whether it don't matter if you on the cop side or you on the non-cop side, or you're a part of some social movement, or you're a regular person who don't know what's going on, you are responsible for your safety, your day. Feeling safe is a myth. You're either safe or you're not safe. You're either a hard target or you're not. You're either going to control your children and have a control over your life, whether you sit down and say, okay, it's crazy, the situation we in. What can I do to fix myself to make it better? Because see, a lot of us, we come from not ideal situations. We're not rich. We weren't born rich. We might be doing okay. We move to a situation in the hierarchy where we become comfortable and we do okay. And then we start looking at other people like, man, that shit don't matter. And you know why that shit don't matter? Because I took care of myself and I made something out of myself. Why didn't you make something out of yourself? I am guilty of feeling like that and having that thought. I'm not talking at y'all. I'm saying that I was guilty of this when I finally got my life together. At 25, 26 years old, I'm like, I got my shit together, literally from zero, went all the way up, did everything I was supposed to do. Why can't these other people? But then I have to check myself because it's like, we're not all operating at the same level. We don't all have the same brain power. We don't have all the same resources. We're not all in the same spot. And everybody's not willing to do stuff. Just like with the little home situation. I have an AR-15. I'm going to show up with my gun. I don't want to dance. I don't want to talk. If you're there when I get there, it's lights out. That's it. Other people say, I am terrified. Let me get myself out the way and let me call somebody who can help. But in both of those situations, we're both responsible for how we respond. And you have to be, personally, I feel like you need to be exposed to things in order to know how to deal with them. But a lot of us get ourselves right. We do the right thing. And then we forget that everybody else, they might need help. They might need this. They might need that. But then we want to call ourselves good people because we raised our children right. We want to call ourselves good people because we're not out here perpetuating this. You want to call yourself a good person because you said, hey, I don't pick sides in genocide. Genocide is fucking wrong, period. You want to call yourself a good person because you don't say nothing and you want to project whatever image that you want to project because you're scared that you're going to miss an opportunity. That is a level of selfishness that our communities being abandoned has created in all of us. That I did good for me. That's on you if you want to stay over there and do that. Poverty is a given. It is not something that is going to go away.
Also, I want to talk about the definition of wealth is different depending on the person, because people that like are in crazy high positions of power that say they came from nothing, then a lot of the time they had someone help them. And there's a kind of wealth in that, you know what I mean? So like you could not, there's different kinds of privilege and different kinds of wealth. So something I kind of want to touch on based on what you just said is what actually is useful in your life. Because like maybe I don't have a lot of money, but I have resources, you know what I mean? Or maybe somebody like has a lot of money but doesn't have the brain power. Or maybe like somebody has like a lot of resources in one way, but not resources in another way. So I think that like it is important to talk about like the different spectrum that can look like. And I've been a lot of different people in my life, and I've known a lot of different people in my life. So I feel like I'm more aware of how this spectrum can look from person to person. And I feel like that's a conversation that not everybody has, because not everybody walks in a million different worlds. Like there was a big thing in the 2016 election where people were talking about how everyone exists in their little bubbles, especially now with the internet being so tailored to you and what your interests are, what your opinions are. The internet could just feed you your own world back to you all over again, which is why I actually like reading more than like reading articles and stuff like that. Because if I look for an article online, I'm probably going to find things that I already agree with, as opposed to reading a book. I might learn something new by going to a library and being like, oh, this looks interesting. That's an opinion that I haven't thought of before, I haven't been exposed to before. Or talking to somebody that has a different life than I do. I feel like I learn more from getting an outside opinion or an outside perspective. And that's something that I think that we are lacking, is having that ability to maintain that outside perspective in addition to our own perspective. So like being aware of, like you said, like checking yourself and saying like, oh, I could do this. Why couldn't anybody else do this? Why couldn't my cousin do this? Why couldn't my brother do this? Why was I the one who was able to do this? I must be stronger than they are. But also maybe, you know, you had different resources. Maybe like you had something put in you at a young age that made you a certain way. Or maybe you had a friend help you and lift you up, whereas the other person didn't have a friend to help them up. There's just so many different factors that go into how a person becomes who they are that I think should be talked about more. And it's not to neglect the hard work that they did. It's more so to acknowledge how everybody needs help sometimes. Something that's been circulating on my Instagram feed lately that I love to see is the quote, something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of, my toxic trait is thinking that I can do these things alone when historically they have been done with a community. I love seeing that quote circulating my feed because that's true. Like going back to the very beginning of our conversation, everybody needs community. Humans are social creatures. And when it comes to existing together, when it comes to learning together, when it comes to doing anything together, it comes from togetherness. It doesn't come from like, oh, I'm over here doing this and you're over here doing this. I think that's a good thing because you should have independence for sure and know who you are independently. But you also need to come back to the community eventually, because you can't live your whole life like separate from other people. You still need people at the end of the day.
Correct. I think it's funny that like humans, we're so social. The first thing we do when we see like an animal or something on the street is we start talking to it. But like, I want to wrap up on the point that at this point, y'all, we all know we've said this every live stream that we're past the point of talking to these people because talking to we have to have the discussion, but talking is not working anymore because they are controlling the conversation. They're controlling everything that has to do with the communication because we don't have enough people to just stand up and say, hey, this is not it. Not giving your opinion on the album or nothing like that. People in society are not able to walk and function and do what they need to do on their own because of silence. And silence, I understand now that silence is pretty much, you're kind of agreeing with it because you're not disagreeing with it. You don't have to run out over the hill every time something or somebody says something. But the reason that we have people like nonprofit organizations and, righteous ones and people who get into the community and do work and even people who do want to support people who are public servants of any capacity, those of us who are like us in the fleet and on this channel and everything, it's our duty to get out here and talk about this stuff. Like, I think it was ASO was in here earlier. I salute you. I just thought you was talking about Batman. Like, no, like it's my duty to say something because I know that people in other positions, if they were in this position, they wouldn't have to worry about getting out here and helping no children because I'm not going to go, I'm going to do that. But somebody else who was, how many singers we know, Rose just dropped off, but how many singers we know get out here, they don't never say nothing about nothing. They could. DJ Khaled still ain't saying nothing about Palestine. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's our duty as people who lead to get out here and make sure that the people who device not gonna listen it, but it's our duty as people who lead to make sure that there is an environment that is fostered for people to do the right thing. So if we say, hey, any police officer that does unrighteous murder, does a terrorist act, you're out of here and your family got to go with you, that changes everything. Any person out here who let little RT run rampant and run wild, see what I'm saying? See, let little RT get out here, run rampant and run wild, you're out of here and your family must go. Violence, they tell you don't endorse violence, but I'm violence all day because that's the only language that people really understand at this point. We can't allow people to hurt people. What's up, Katrina? We can't allow people to just do stuff and hurt people or hurt stuff because most of us over here, we're not outsourcing anything when it comes to our person. But we're the anomaly in that. Most people are, they're not, there's 4 responses, but like I said, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, but the 4 responses are fight, flight, faint. What is it? Fight, flight, faint, or freeze. And most people are not going to fight. Most people are not going to get up and do something, So it's up to us to facilitate the areas to say it's okay for you to speak out. It's okay for you to come up and say something. It's okay for you to not be okay with Sexy Red being pregnant in the prison. It's okay for me to not be okay with Casanet doing a week live long stream acting like prison is fun because you're perpetuating that, you're giving that to people and you're doing, it's not the right thing to do. Okay, we got Theo coming. Let's go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you. What you got?
Blessings to everybody in the chat. You know what I'm saying? This conversation is definitely well needed. I was talking to you earlier, and I was thinking after we got off the phone, it's like, bro, we had when this shit first started. I can't really pinpoint where it started, but we definitely got to the point to where it was like, okay, we see this is going on. What are we gonna do about it? and everybody kind of just brushed it off like, oh, it's gonna pass through and all that. And it's like, since we did that, now this is where we at. So we still gonna brush this off, or we just gonna? Because the problem is we looking. I don't want to say we looking for the white man to save us, but we looking for somebody else to save us, other than just correcting ourselves.
Thank you, bruh. We wouldn't even be in these situations if we would have handled the fucking problem when the problem hit our doorstep instead of saying, "Oh man, they made a way for themselves." But look at the way that they're making. We're not saying, "Oh, you shouldn't like strawberry ice cream," or "You shouldn't like fucking men in the ass." We're saying you're doing shit that's hurting everybody else, and it's causing everybody else to want to hurt us. And if we would have said, no, we're going to facilitate us, we're going to have our own systems, and we're going to facilitate things so you don't have to go and sell drugs. We're going to actually make sure that we at least have a percentage of the population that could actually go and do something that could benefit all of us. We're going to make sure that we create our own pipeline so people can be successful, so you don't have to go and get on drugs. You don't have to self-medicate. You don't have to go through things by yourself. We're selfish. We've become selfish instead of putting that to the side for the greater good of this. Because, you know, people always say, I love my kids and I love the community. That's bullshit. We didn't give them anything. And that's why I was saying earlier that all of us over here, especially if you my age and younger, we were raised by people like Gucci and Jeezy and Yo Gotti. And when I say that, what I'm saying is I don't want to hear you preach about your bullshit. You need to tell me what I fucking can do. I am hurting now. I'm sick now. I need help now. I don't give a fuck if you gotta tap into your pineal gland and goddamn call yourself Hebrew Shiite of Salian, whatever the fuck, talking about shit that's not helping me right here. Nigga, my stomach hurt. Help. I need help. But when people are offering you solutions that nobody's ever been able to really see nothing from that, because, okay, you told me to do this and it's not working. You told me to do that. Nothing's coming from it. You told me I had to do this. It's not helping me. But he gave me an 8-ball and told me to go do my motherfucking thing. And now I got money. So I can take my resource and do what I need to do with it, or do what I want to do with it. Because we got a lot of that too. Defiance, not respecting people who know what they're talking about. Whoever that was earlier talking about goddamn the slave. We all had police. Bro, this lady came up here and told you the origin of American police was catching and killing black people. And they never got away from that. And you're talking about goddamn something else. Like, we have too much of that. We've allowed too many people to come in and run their fucking mouth without having to produce results. But if we say, all right, anybody who is not equipped to go to college is not fucking going. I.e., I watched you in middle school, I watched you in high school, and you was not equipped to be in that environment. You're not going to be no good in the environment. We're too wishful of a thinkful people or whatever. We do too much wishful thinking. We do too much goddamn, oh, well, one day they'll be good. Motherfucker, a man don't mature until he's 25. Like, okay, so if you know that, what are you doing to goddamn, like, what are you doing once you realize something is wrong? What the fuck are you doing to make it right? Okay, only people who perform academically and can excel in that environment is going here. We got this group of people going into the police force because they have self-control and they know what they can do that, and they level-headed and they calm and they know what to do and they actually want to help. We got this sector, they go into the military. We got these people who you're good at learning, but the school environment ain't for you, so you're going to trade school. We got this motherfucker who need to get behind the wheel of a truck. We got that motherfucker. We need that. We don't need niggas telling you, Are you a black man for real? If your wife is white, bitch, nobody give a fuck about your white baby mama, nigga. We have real problems, and niggas want to talk. Should we go to Cheesecake Factory on the first date, or should we go to Top Golf, bitch? Like,
You're like the whole T.I. and Kenny shit. It's like, bro, who gives a fuck about rich people problems? Who gives a fuck about their problems? We got problems of our own. Y'all step. That's the thing, bro. Every time there's an issue that we need to address, it's always some bullshit that comes into play. Oh,
and it's
let's
always
talk about
somebody
this.
else.
Let's
It's
talk
always
about Lil
something else.
Rock getting jumped in the mall. Let's talk about this. This, bro, who gives a fuck? That does not change my everyday. And you know, I know it doesn't change my everyday because I can get up, do whatever the fuck I want to do, not get on the internet, go on with my day. At the end of the day, get on the internet and all this shit could have happened. Did not change my day. I still went out and did what I need to do. So what are we really
Exactly.
talking about?
And when you bring something up, I'm saying, hey y'all, I premise this. I'm gonna change the title after, but I premise this as because I started out talking about all the shit that was going on in DC, bro. They got the DMV area. They got police officers killing children because children don't know how to act. You got grandmas being fucking shields because bullets is flying through the window and almost hitting their grandkids. You got pedophiles running rampant around this bitch, motherfuckers doing smash and grabs, people stealing people work, shit. And when I say, hey y'all, I don't think none of this shit worked with none of this shit that these people been talking about. Motherfuckers want to go back to talking about them when I'm saying we need to take a responsibility and accountability for what's happening. Just because something's happening, bro. Remember they used, oh, if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge too? These people would jump off the bridge.
Of
These
course.
people would absolutely do it. They would absolutely go. And when my thing is, if somebody's asking you a direct question, you answer it. If somebody's asking you or talking to you in a direct manner, you speak back to them in a direct manner. I don't need the runaround. I don't, it's
Hypotheticals and
not
all this
working.
shit. So yes,
Bad
no.
advice from a well-meaning source is still bad advice. And if you bring up some shit that you don't have no control over, and the people that's always doing that are usually the people who don't fucking understand what the hell they're talking about. So if I say, Theo, you got to take your keys out your work truck. They're out here stealing people packages. It's holiday season. So, I know it's one extra step, and I know that, it's inconvenient and it's annoying, and if the house is 2 feet down the street, maybe grab the package or walk back and forth to the truck, but take your keys with you. And you like, but man, that white man, goddamn, he left his keys in his Tesla. Tesla ain't got no keys, but he left his keys in his Tesla. Ain't nobody steal his Tesla. And it's just like, bro, what you mean? Like, I'm telling you that maybe you need to just take the extra step to make sure you secure your shit. Because all that shit that's going on, we have the option to pick up and walk away from. Those people who they lack resources, they're in the situation they're in for whatever reason that they're in, anything that's going on, they might not be in a position where they can stop what they're doing and fix themselves. Not that they shouldn't, but that might not be their reality. I don't have to be around that shit. I don't live in Washington, D.C., and I ain't going. So I refuse to go up there. I'm not going to be a victim of that shit, but I have that option. What about those people who live there? They don't have nowhere to go. They can't get up and leave. They don't have the resources. They don't have no help. They're not getting help from nobody out there. You think the lady who had to grab her grandkids and run in the bathroom tub so they wouldn't get shot, hoping they wouldn't get shot, you think she want to fucking hear what you got to say about the white man?
Exactly.
Like, you think that lady give a fuck about that? She don't give a fuck about that. It's ridiculous.
And she shouldn't, bro. Like we know, and that's the thing too, is like, so when I was in the street, I was probably the only and the last nigga that was still moving off of principles and morals. If I catch you at work and we got a problem, I'm gonna spare you because you at work. These new niggas, wherever I catch you, nigga, that's where I catch you. I don't care if you walking your kids down the street, any of that shit. So it's like when you got the big U's and the whack 100s and niggas that talk about that shit, it's like, well, why are you not cleaning this shit up? Because this results from you. I don't give a fuck if you still banging whatever the fuck, bro. This results from you. So why are you not doing something about this? And then when we do have something, when we do have somebody that does want to do something about it, aka Nipsey Hussle, oh, nobody's bigger than the program. Well, the program's bullshit, and this dude found out the program is bullshit. So, are you promoting this or not? That's all I'm saying. It's the whole thing with academics, bro. You sit here and say, oh, I was a child when I was doing the Warren Sharp Act. Then why are you still on that type of time? Because you wasn't held accountable. And that's why I said, nigga, like we was talking earlier, if I'm outside and somebody gets to the point where, you know what, I'm tired of my grandma having to duck from bullets and shit, any young nigga I see out this bitch, I'm smacking them on sight. And I catch that, that's just a war, or that's a casualty of war, nigga. You don't get to dictate how shit plays out because you in the shit. And that's where we at. And you gonna see a lot more of that. You're gonna see a lot more niggas like, I'm sick of this shit, bro. It's just whoever. If it's your child, you should have told your child, because the conversation isn't being had. Where the fuck is these people parents at?
Outside with them. And you make a very good point about it's gonna happen more because people are tired. Like I said earlier, the reason that people like what's her name? Fannie Willis. The reason that people like Fannie Willis exist is because
Who
the
is that? I'm
community
sorry.
didn't check Young Thug and YSL. The community didn't check 4PF and YFN. The community didn't check 4L and whoever else they got out there. The community didn't say, you're not going to do that. We're not tolerating that. And the people who was supposed to stand on business, they condoned it because that was their only way out. This is working for us. We getting money. That selfish mentality. So family, say funny. Fannie Willis exists because that side of the fence is not the only side that exists just because it's the loudest. There's people on the other side that say, I don't want to be a victim of a gang. I don't want to be victim of rappers. I don't want to be victims of drug dealers. I don't want to be victims. So they will put their trust that Fannie Willis is going to clean this up so my grandmother can live. I don't want to be a victim of this terrible environment, and I don't care what has to be done. I keep putting this on the screen. Where is that? That fucking stop and frisk shit. They want stop and frisk to come back. These people is so tired. Is this it? No. Where is that? These people is so done with, where is it at? God damn it. So many things in here, man. Like, it's so much. But people start putting their trust into these entities that do something. They don't care how bad it goddamn is. Here we go. They don't care how unethical and wrong it is for the district attorney to say, nigga, I don't care about your motherfucking rap career. You up here rapping about these murders, we gonna give you 100 years. How do you think the people on the other side feel? Oh, free this person, free that person. But what about the family of the person that was victimized? What about the regular people? You got people who never thought about being cops saying, I can't take this shit no more, man. I gotta go in there. I gotta do something. I gotta get up. I gotta go do something. Or then you got other people who they ain't really interested in talking. They're gonna get out here and they're gonna start going motherfucking crazy. And that's why I named it Gotham, because we're gonna move into vigilante mode pretty soon. Yeah. It's not going to be everybody just not gonna sit around, because guess what? Like I said, us over here, we're doing fine. We don't have to be in Washington, D.C. We don't have to go through it if we don't want to. And if that shit was happening where we live, we pick up and we fucking move. But what about the people that can't move? What about your stubborn ass grandmother who's never leaving her house? In her house is that we know how our grandparents and we know how old people are. They're not moving. They're not leaving. Category 5 is coming. Nigga, I lived in Louisiana my whole life. Fuck that hurricane. That's how it is. This is how people are. The older you get, the more set you are in your ways. So when Fannie Willis come out, oh, you're just the first one, YSL. We're going to get all of you niggas. There's going to be people who, they love Young Thug. They love his music. They like what he did for his people. Lock his ass up. Because we got to put our face somewhere, and then it's going to be those Batman figures that's like, anybody that come out this bitch selling them fentanyl lace pills, I'm going to shoot you in your fucking head and leave you on the pavement. And ain't nobody going to say nothing. Ain't nobody going to tell on them. Ain't nothing going to happen. When the police report come out, the police is going to leave you on the ground like FBG Duck, wailing in pain because you decided that until you die, because you decided that everything you was going to do was going to be against everything we had going on. You decided that fuck my community, fuck this, I'm the most gangster, I'm the most whatever. And then when something happened to you, oh, we're going to block the area off and let you roll around like a fish flopping out of water until you die because we need you out the way. I don't fuck you. I don't give a fuck about you. And everybody's getting to that point. Because now when because people are moving to the point of not being scared to talk. But there are going to be people, mark our words, there are going to be people that get out of here and start terrorizing motherfuckers who've been terrorizing folks. And ain't nobody gonna care. Motherfuckers
You remember when I was talking to you earlier and I said you could ask the DA of Louisiana what is the percentage of murders before young boy got put on house arrest and after? And I promise you she could tell you it decreased. It makes you question the people that say free Young Thug as if this man is 100% innocent. Because it's like, if you saying free Young Thug, bro, are you saying that he didn't do nothing wrong? And are you saying that what has been done under his name and his power isn't wrong? Because if Young Thug, if this was Mo 3 and I stayed in that area, because people that ain't from here don't know, dog, there was a lot of fucking bodies and shootings between that, before he died, like while he was alive and after he died. Like the news, after he died on a Wednesday, I want to say, the news came out and said, we are telling everybody to please stay in the house this weekend because of retaliation shootings behind his death. Dog, so you tell me I can't take my daughter to the carnival or something because of this nigga? Because what y'all got going on? Bro, people don't want to live like that. Niggas work hard in a bitch. I already got to figure out how the fuck I'm going to pay for this, and put gas in the car, my kids and all this, and you going to try to come take what I got? I'm gunning you down with no question.
And people ain't going to have no remorse about it. Shout out to Brian Tisdale for hitting the Cash App. I appreciate it. He said, keep grinding always. You know, that is where we're at. You got to think about, like you just said, so I already live in this fuck up environment, and I got to walk out the house, and I got to think about what of my groceries can I take off the list so I can put gas in the car to go to work. Because no matter where you are in life right now, you're feeling the effect of the economy and you're feeling the effect of the community. Even having a good job, you got to dish out more, and wages is not going up. Quality is going down. Size of things is going down. Everything is piling on top of you. And then I got to deal with this. No, people are tired of it. And this is why I say that we have to come out in utter, complete contempt and be ready to do violence on these people who want to terrorize our people. Because it's not right. It's not fair to those people who are not like us. Because we're fine. Our people are going to be fine. But there are a lot more people that are not going to be fine compared to the people that are. Just because that's just how the system in the society is.
And pay attention to the people when we start pushing this more broadly. Pay attention to the people that got pushed back behind what we pushing, because them is the motherfuckers that we coming for. Because bro, it shouldn't be so common for somebody to just do a documentary or whatever the fuck on a rapper that has an open case. But we sit here and go at Vlad. We're at the point now, I don't give a fuck about the white man right now, bro. We have to focus on our own people and all that. I love I love black folks, but I hate niggas. That doesn't mean shit, bro. Cause in everybody else's eyes that ain't black, they see us the same way. They're not finna run down on a nigga and be like, is you black or are you a nigga? Nobody's
Is
doing
you
it.
black or New Wapian? Like
Yeah,
what
like
the fuck? Nigga,
nobody's
shut
doing
up.
that,
Like
bro. You don't see any other race do that. Are you a redneck or you a white boy? Nigga, I don't give a fuck about none of y'all, bro. Not finna break that shit down like that. So that's one thing I really have an issue with is that all I love black folks, but I hate niggas. Fuck all that shit, bro. We all the same people. And you have a problem with yourself if you have to do that. Because me, I tell everybody, bro, I'm a nigga. I don't give a fuck what nobody else say. You shouldn't say that. I don't give a fuck what you think, because I'm comfortable in my skin. I go outside knowing who the fuck I am and I know what I'm battling. But all that hating each other shit, now we can say, I don't like the way that person decides to act, but I'm not basing that off his skin color. Cause that's really just a pure hatred. Cause always keep in mind the people that always say that shit always be fucking the other race, always be fucking a white woman or some shit like that. So it's like, what are you saying?
you know, to wrap up on this point because it's getting a little late. It's it's a lot going on, and we just can't keep pushing it off. Like we cannot get this under wraps because, like I said, y'all know how I feel about it. Divide, 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 divisive all day. I'm not sitting at the table with you if you decide that okay, I don't want to be about making sure that everybody can be cool. You know, we ain't got to like the same thing. We ain't got to be on the same team. We ain't got to wear the same whatever. But if you're doing things to perpetuate the hate or you're playing for the other team and or you a spy or some shit like that, we can't be with you. If you think that, oh, Lil RT cool because he making money, like I can't be cool with nobody like that. It's like I said, it's not like picking ice cream or picking who you want to sleep with. You're talking about things that hurt everybody and hurt everything. We're already fighting everything else. In the infighting, I'm for dividing. We can't be with them. It's no, if you are not getting down, you're gonna be put down. And that's what we're heading that way anyway. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it gets to that point. Because soon something's going to happen where you're not going to have a choice but to pick which team you're playing for. And if you're not playing for this team, i.e., the team of people that are saying, we're not putting up with the bullshit no more. We're not taking the bullshit no more. We're not allowing people to make excuses. You're going to be dragged, kicking and screaming, or you're going to be put out your misery. Just like what Harriet Tubman. When I show up, nigga, it's time to be free. And if you don't want to be free, I'm going to send you to your maker because it's too much of a risk letting you go back because you might rat, you might, you will compromise the mission in some other way. Everybody is not built to be warriors. Everybody is not built to fight. But those of us who, again, like I said, you're not scared to be hated. You don't give a fuck what people say. You not, every time somebody say something you disagree with, like the two people earlier who was talking crazy but didn't call in or whatever. I'm not calling you names because of that. I asked you to do a task. You didn't do the task. See you. I don't have time for it. I'm not dealing with that. Because I'm not giving my energy to that when we got people who need us. And if you decide that you want to be selfish, it's nothing here for that. Because like I said, if we decided that we wouldn't want to do this, bro, I can get up here and treat this shit how the white people treat it all day. That would not bother me. That would not hurt me. It wouldn't make me feel no type of way either. But I know that because I'm a songwriter and a lot of what's going on in the songwriting culture, what did it say? Playing a stupid game. Exactly. A lot that happens in music, the music business in general, is people don't talk because they're afraid to lose something. They're afraid to be banned. They're afraid because they're gonna whatever. I'm not afraid because these people didn't give me shit and they're not gonna give me shit. Anything I got, I went and worked for it and I earned it. I'm not beholden to any corporation. I'm not beholden to any of these things. I don't sign paperwork that makes me a slave or tells me what I can and can't do. Therefore, I'm letting people know that you can still be successful without selling your soul, without having to do these things, without having to be a victim first. That's the importance for coming out and speaking on this stuff. It has nothing to do. I never have to be. There's not one point in my life from today going forward where I will ever have to be bothered with this shit. I can ignore this shit and nothing will be different. I'm gonna still have the same type of day I'm gonna have tomorrow. But I feel like as a person who you're looking at me, no matter if it's 10 people, 5 people, the 15 that's in here, I have a responsibility to come out here and say, if this is okay to be against this. It's okay to be against people without taking the media's narrative of if you are tired of seeing black children steal cars in DC, you should hate black children. No, hate the action. You don't hate all black kids because some black kid is out of control because some black parents are not there and don't give a fuck about their children. You don't hate black men because somebody hurt your feelings. You don't hate black women because she didn't want to date you. You don't put down people that you don't put your people down because somebody else was nice to you and maybe your breath stank or you was musty or something like that and motherfuckers laugh. You don't push yourself into that mind. You don't push yourself into those places where your mindset is fuck them, because that is going to put you, because somebody is going to do the exact same thing to you. And that, people gonna do what they want to anyway, but it's like we don't get ourselves worked up about these things, but we do need to make a space and make it clear that you're not going to do anything to me. It's not going to happen. You don't have anything to take from me because you didn't give me shit. So I'm going to say what the fuck I want to say. I'm going to say it when I fucking want to say it, and ain't nobody going to do nothing about it because I have my community to protect me, because I'm the person that's taking the arrows in their back. So to make it clear that it is okay to be against these things. It is okay if you decide that your career path is you want to go to the military, or you want to drive trucks, or you want to be a cop, or you want to be a nurse. You can do that, and you can do that safely without motherfuckers just, everybody's going to be hated. It's not, it's inevitable. But it's okay to be against it, and it's okay for us to cut these people off, banish them, and not have nothing to do with them, and make sure that they don't succeed and they don't get rewarded. But they're playing, they standing in our face, but they playing the side of the system. That's why they think that it's a reward. Like the Bible says, if y'all up here are people of faith, when the Lord bless you, there will be no sorrow added to it. You see these people get everything they want and they commit suicide. They get everything they want. They still miserable. They want to write their tell-all book and then all this other crazy ass shit, because it's not hitting how it used to hit when the devil was giving them they demonic blessing. And now that the well is running dry, then they want to come back over here and play in our face. We can't have it. Once you cross over, that's it for you. Period. I'll let you get the last word because I'm gonna hop off. It's been about damn near 2 hours.
Yeah, I just want to say, when you said one thing I picked up on, you said with the other guests was in fuck singularity, let me put it that way, thinking from your point of view. And I say that because I was watching the interview with Dr. Umar. It was like 4 other black men on there, and he was like, look, man, we gotta get these kids in order. Y'all want to mess with these women to show them that you the man you are. You know what I'm saying? Get the kids in order. They talking about, well, it ain't my fault she picked Pookie and Ray Ray. And he was like, bro, you keep looking from your perspective. There should not even be a Pookie and Ray Ray, because everything should be in order. So since it's not in order, that's what we have to do. And it's like, it really blew me, because they got on there thinking, yeah, Dr. Umar's gonna be on our side with this one. And when he wasn't, it was like they shut down. And it's like, bro, everything, just because we're having a conversation and I don't agree with you, it's not a debate. It's a conversation. And I believe
Exactly.
a lot of people don't know the difference. They feel like as soon as you don't agree with them, now we're arguing. No, we're not. I'm just telling you why I don't feel the way you feel. And that's how I feel like that gets twisted on the internet a lot. Like, people feel like, and my thing too is, why is that your type of woman? Like, why are you going after that? Like, won't you switch that up? But all that back to say between black people and niggas, all black women do this. No, nigga, the black women that you're going after do that. All black women don't do that. Majority of black women don't even think like that. Because majority of black women raise kids on their own. So why would they? That's just me personally. I don't want to say that because it's like, dog, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it. Because you don't get to depict how it gets received.
Correct. You don't determine how people interpret what you say. The best thing you can do is say it in the most layman terms so it can be understood, you know. And you're right. A lot of people with their hyper individuality have created these spaces where it's just like earlier. I'm gonna keep referencing this when I thought this was about Gotham. What's she talking about? What's going on? Bro, I'm not about, people will get on this bitch and cuss you out. I'm not doing that. I don't agree with what you're saying. I don't have to cuss you out. I don't have to call you a name, and I'm not going to do that because that's unnecessary. We can agree or we can disagree. Like when Rose was saying, when she was giving the rundown about it and it's a training issue, I came back and said, no, these motherfuckers is rogue. What about them? Some people don't have the resources, but I'm talking about these motherfuckers who they hate everybody, they evil. Mm-hmm. Respectful discord, not, oh, nigga, fuck that shit. Oh, these motherfuckers, like, no. That's everybody has been conditioned that everything has to be a fight or a confrontation, or because you're confronting something from a different perspective that is a fight. You're confronting something from a different perspective. So I can't like you. I can't talk to you. I can't listen to you. And that's that problem because they think that if you don't think like me, fuck you. If you don't believe what I believe, fuck you. Why do you think I brought Rose up here? Because she's somebody who knows about that. She's somebody who is different from us. Even though there's a bunch of different people on the channel, but you see me all day. You see how I think. Let's go see what's happening on the other side and see what they're talking about. Somebody whose family is from a whole nother country. And let's see how they think about it. That's not to, we're off track and it's a different subject. No, this is the same subject, man. Yeah, if you only got your perspective, you don't know what's happening for real and how regular people thinking in these other things. Everybody's being pushed down and suppressed, and everything that you're seeing is being pushed onto you. You're not going out and looking for things, especially if you're just picking your phone up and getting on TikTok. You're being fed the shit that they want to feed you and the shit that you want to see. So, and if you don't get perspectives from other type of people, you're not qualified to speak because you're not dealing with other things. You're not dealing with other situations. You're not dealing with people from other places. If all I talked to was, there's a time and place for that, but if all I talked to was 14-year-olds hyped up on drill music and weed in DC, this will be a different conversation. They have a different way of how they look at that. But as their children, at the end of the day still, but as adults who can control and take control, and we're more powerful than we think we are, y'all. Mm-hmm. We have more power and we have people that come out here and stand against that. We gotta have their back. I don't care. I can't say that. I'm gonna leave that for myself. But like, it's certain things that, as long as you are not compromised, and we know because we vetted you that you're not gonna be compromised in a way that is gonna hurt what we got going on, and you're not trying to do it in a selfish way, we can have your back. I don't have to agree with everything Theo says. I don't have to, you don't have to have an opinion about everything. I be saying it all the time. You don't have to give your thought about everything. You don't have to come out and say something, everything happened. But when it's important, we need to form like Voltron and get out here and get ahead of these things. Because these people wanting that stop, bro, I don't think people understand how crazy it is for them. First, polls are fake, but everybody they probably surveyed 100 people that lived in DC, and they probably asked them some shit. Like, it's just like when if you ever went to one of these conferences with the people who are dentists or doctors and shit, they'll give them 5 toothpaste samples, and they'll say, which toothpaste do you think is the best? And 100 of them, out of 100 of them, 95% of them pick the first one, and the rest of them pick the rest of them. They'll come out with that little bit I just told you. They'll come out and say 95% of dentists in America recommend this toothpaste. That's how these polls work. So they went out there and got some bullshit, twisted the words. People are just looking and seeing. They don't know how to interpret what they're reading. They don't have people who can interpret what they're reading. They don't bother to do any type of anything past the first sentence. And they'll say, oh, 95% of people said Colgate cool, so I'm going to go get that. Now, knowing they were only given 5 choices, and it was only people who were registered for the organization. It's the same thing with all of this stuff. So, yeah, it's been about 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you for calling in. I'm glad you called in because I didn't want to forget what you were saying.
No problem, man. I hope everybody have a blessed day. And, just keep your head on a swivel.
All righty. Peace. Yeah, I'm going to be live tomorrow, probably around the same time. It won't be that long. I'm going to be talking about the mental health side of this. I really appreciate y'all. Shout out to Jamie. He live in DC. He's actually the person who had told me last night that he don't even go out at night because it's so bad. But man, shout out to y'all, man. This is probably like the longest live stream I've done that has been something like this. But we'll be back tomorrow. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you again, Brian, for hitting the cash app. Shout out to Katrina, Zay, John Wick, everybody. Showboat. I don't think I got to say you, Brian. Even shout out to ASO. Your ass should have called in. Shout out to Theo. Shout out to Gray. Shout out to Rose. I really appreciate you, Snipping Thorns, for coming in. She did this really long video on goddamn that Jordan Peele movie, but she's a songwriter too, y'all. Just in case y'all was wondering, I should have said that in the beginning. Who else? Even CB3. Your ass should have just came in, but people like that you can't reason with. So yeah, man, I'll get off this junk. I appreciate y'all. I'll holler at you.